Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and I decided it was time for another channel update video for you guys over here on YouTube. For those of you who may be newer to the channel in the last few months since the Endwalker release our Final Fantasy XIV, I do these on occasion, usually around the time or following a kind of rough patch where you may not see a lot of videos being uploaded on YouTube. And while I know most people would say there's no need for a content creator to explain why they haven't been posting videos as opposed to just, starting to post videos again. I'm someone who, of course, owes my livelihood to, YouTube, Twitch, and wherever I create my content and the people who enjoy it and support it. So I've always feel kind of obligated to do it. It's just something that I personally want to do. So what has been going on with me? Because as no doubt most people have noticed, most of the videos on the channel have just not been happening. There's plenty of series that do normally happen or things that are more regular, other than my weekly Q&As, which I have been able to stay regular with, that are just not showing up. And there are a multitude of reasons, things that have just been going on that have been preoccupying my mind. But there's been really one thing that's been preoccupying my mind in my personal life that has, just led to me not being able to bring myself in my own spare time to spend my energy on making content or whatever else. I've just kind of been playing games I enjoy, lurking in a few Twitch streams or maybe taking a nap. Any of those things will actually do. And that thing has to do with my mother. Now, I'm not going to put all of my family business out there on YouTube, but to cut it short, those of you who have followed me throughout other mediums and heard me talk about it, I have essentially been supporting my mother financially for quite some time now. And it just got to a point where I don't want to say the burden, but I guess the weight of it, it's kind of the same thing, but there's just the weight of that responsibility just kind of tore me down over time. I was helping her with medical stuff. I've been helping her with the house on, 3,000 miles away back in New Jersey. And every day I felt like I was waking up and just waiting to see what it was going to be that day. And, when it's that day after day or every other day or week after week, and, you just need a break from it, but it's a responsibility. It's just, it weighs heavy on the heart. I miss this one medical thing. Her life is in my hands and, something doesn't happen with the house, doesn't get paid for the house. She's homeless. And so there's no way I could ever let either of those things happen. So yeah, I definitely pushed myself super hard over the last year, especially to make sure that I could take care of her. And I have, and things have been improving. So that's why I'm kind of starting to get that energy back. You're going to see a few videos that aren't my usual stuff on the channel coming up, and I'll talk about that in a second, that have just kind of they've got the blood flowing again. It's just about getting back into it, especially right before 6.1, where once again we're going to go pedal to the metal to get a bunch of videos out the week of release. Plus, we'll have tons of ultimate progress videos when that comes around in 6.11. So it's just about getting the gears turning again. But that's where my headspace has been at, and I think most people can relate that sometimes things just they just need to relax. It just needs to be about you for a little bit, and I've been trying to do that for myself because a healthy mind is a healthy work. I guess that's not the phrase, but you know what I mean. So now that things are starting to ease up on that front, what are the plans for the channel going forward? Well, of course, State of the Realm and the weekly Q&As are going to be continuing. State of the Realm, we agreed a long time ago, Sly and I, that we weren't going to do a show if we couldn't do a proper show, because there were times in the past we were just putting on shows every week, even if it was something that just wasn't much in either of our interest wheelhouses, or something that was super niche that we were just kind of making up, a show that was just about nothing. And we just decided to stop doing that for the most part. So if we can't get the right guest, if we don't have a topic lined up, we just aren't forcing shows. So that's why you don't see as much State of the Realm as you have over the previous years. Just don't want to put out something that you won't enjoy. Now, the weekly Q&As, of course, have been continuing. In fact, I'm recording another one right after this. I wanted to get this out of the way so I could kind of release this alongside of that. And I'm also going to, of course, be coming back to 14 content creation for 6.1. We'll be going into kind of the usual stuff, the extreme guides, dungeon guides. I know I didn't even get all of the Endwalker dungeon guides done. That's because a lot of what I'm talking about in this video kind of started to settle in after I had kind of gotten through the adrenaline of releasing all of the Endwalker release content. Now, I do want to do some other things on the channel, and this is something I'm always hesitant about. And that's when I'm releasing content that's not directly about Final Fantasy XIV. It's just one of the trappings of being someone who entered the space because of one game and doesn't only play that one game and would like to produce some other stuff, but either lacks confidence or lacks the channel's goodwill to put that stuff out without seeing numbers being kind of fluctuating. It's one of those, again, mental space kind of things that's very difficult to overcome, but occasionally I get the itch to do it. So, Strangers of Paradise, Final Fantasy. Still a Final Fantasy game, and I put out one video on that. I'd like to put out some other ones because I'm sure there are still some people who are intimidated with the idea of picking it up. So I want to do some more beginner-friendly stuff, some tips in combat to help you get through some of the early game bosses, and showcase some of the high-value specialties that you can do to kind of ease at least beating the game on even normal or hard mode to be much, much easier. Something more on the comedy front, and something I will be releasing this week as well, are some Mario Party highlights. If you don't follow me over on Twitch, you may not know this, but Midna, myself, Sly, and then we've had a couple of different 4-slot members, Chimeras, one of Sly's raid members, and Galaxy, an Australian Final Fantasy XIV and variety content creator. We've been playing Mario Party over there, and you all know how Mario Party can be. I've been debating whether to upload the RAWs because they're Twitch streams, and I feel like uploading just raw Twitch streams is never good, as opposed to at least doing some editing, cutting out some dead air, or, you know, only cherry picking kind of the funnier moments so the comedy flow is a little bit better. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to do a test run where I'm going to do some, just like maybe a 10 to 15 minute highlight clip of maybe 1, 2, or all 3 of the Mario Party games we played in the recent months. And then if people are interested in a longer form version, odds are I'll have chopped down the videos to about an hour and then edited those into the 10 to 15 minutes, as opposed to, doing just the 10 to 15 minute video off the bat. So I can basically release that if there's interest in it. I don't expect those videos to do great, but it is fun. And it is largely with people who still are in the Final Fantasy XIV space. And I just want you all to be able to enjoy it. Now, something really special that we're going to be doing later this year on the channel is a repeat of an event we did several years ago. Back in 2016, when Final Fantasy 15 was set to release, I did an event with a few fellow friends over on Twitch called Final Fantasy Count Up. We basically played through the Final Fantasy games numerically from 1 until even through Final Fantasy 14's initial MSQ. And that even meant a little bit of time in Final Fantasy 11 as well, though they didn't play that nearly as much as I did. And then, we just play through them, re-experience them, maybe do some fun little challenge things. And I'm going to be doing a lot more with that this time. I am also, of course, going to be coordinating with them with my ideas. So there is going to be a lot of just general Final Fantasy content on the channel. For example, I'll allow incentives for people to pick my jobs in certain games, even change my jobs in the middle of the playthrough, pick the characters that I'll be using, encourage new game or different game playthroughs that aren't just the main series, Tactics, 10-2, the 13 trilogy, as well as certain other objectives that I've already started working on. But I'm not going to start that event until we have a release date for Final Fantasy 16. If we're lucky, when we get information this spring, we'll at least get a release window. If we got a release date, that would be fantastic, but once I have a release window, I can start planning how long each of these games would take to play and decide officially when to start it. So the hope is, even after the 6-month delay, that by the end of this year, we have a release date, and by spring we have the release window, and I can start releasing that. So I probably won't upload full playthroughs because, again, it's just kind of not my style, but I can produce something for YouTube, and I'm trying to contemplate now what those things will be. Now, speaking of general Final Fantasy content, I do kind of want to just start releasing more general Final Fantasy content on the channel. I do the occasional news video or the occasional theory of some kind, but just general things, thoughts that I have about the franchise. I mean, it is the franchise that I've grown up and loved the most over the years. So things like my #1 recommended game, or ranking Final Fantasy games based on which one's the best to start with if you've never played before. Ranking the Final Fantasy games, things I like most about this game, things I don't like about this game. Actual individual reviews for each of them, not just including the pixel remasters, but going in depth into how I feel about those individual titles, because I love talking about them. And so if I can make videos on stuff I already love talking about that I haven't made a video on, seems like a good idea. I know some people like to ask on that note if the Bestiary series is ever coming back. That's probably a no, just because I got kind of tired of just reading a wiki page and then putting some images or videos over it. And that's essentially what the bestiary series was. I won't say it definitively won't happen, but it's very unlikely. I feel like I can package that kind of information or interest more into the individual titles as I talk about them than, again, just reading through a page that's been written or edited by however many people and passing it off as something that I'm doing that's original and creative. So that's where I stand on that. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. I just wanted to release this little update video for anyone who actually cares to watch because, again, I feel like I owe a lot of what I do to you. Now, I rarely ever stare directly at the camera for an entire recording, and looking at my camera on the tripod, it's starting to look like a cyclops with a mouth. So I should probably just get to recording my weekly Q&A after this and call it a video on this. So thank you again for taking your time to listen to what I have to say. Please be on the lookout for new content coming on the channel in the next several months as we start to ease back into that. And, you know, if you see videos just stop at any period of time or the progress to getting new videos out is still kind of slow, this video should be a reference point as to probably what's going on with me and what's going on in my head. So glad to have connected with you on that level at the very least. With that, gotta go record my weekly Q&A. I'll see you in that video. Go watch it. Now. Right now.